And are live on TikTok. How's it going, everybody? We are doing another $25 Best Ball Mania draft on the live stream today. I'm live on TikTok. I'm live on YouTube. YouTube is going to be the place, as always, to watch the draft board as it happens. We got the 11th pick in this draft. I don't hate the back end of drafts this year. I'm not going to lie. I do not hate the 11th spot. I do feel like there's a little bit of a drop off in round one, like around the 7th, 8th pick. Once Breece Hall is off the board, I think there's a little bit of drop off after CMC, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Bijan, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra. Then Breece, a little bit of a drop off to Garrett Wilson and Puka, and then I think another small drop off once you get to 11 and 12. I got a list up of how I think the first round should go on the TikTok live. But if you want to watch a live draft that I'm in right now, a real draft, this is not a mock draft. This is a real $25 entry, $1.5 million to first draft on Underdog Fantasy. That draft just kicked off. First pick was CMC, as expected. It's in CeeDee Lamb number 2. I'm picking from the 11th spot over on YouTube. If you're watching live on TikTok, link is in the TikTok bio. Shout out to everyone who's in the YouTube live. Out of the gates here, I am using the Walter Picks draft tool here. You'll see this sync live in the draft. This is in beta right now, so I'm the only one with access to this right now. It should be released to users soon. But this is what the draft tool looks like in the Walter Picks app if you come to the YouTube live. What's going on, everyone in the TikTok live? We're live on YouTube as well. Links in the TikTok live. If you want to see me compete in a live draft, $25 entry tournament style on Underdog best ball draft. Happy to talk through best ball strategy. How do we join? Yes, this draft already started. You join these drafts by going to Underdog Fantasy and you use code Walter when you sign up. If you haven't signed up before, you'll get a deposit match there. The link is in the YouTube description too. How does the Walter Picks tool work? Yeah, I'll talk through how it works. You'll see how it works too on this live stream as I'm going through here. But really, there's two key components to the draft tool in the Walter Picks app that's going to help you just absolutely crush your fantasy leagues. This is a free app in the App Store. There's some of these features that are paid, some of these features that are free. The core feature that's paid is to sync your leagues. You do have to do a subscription, which comes with the 7-day free trial. But the two big things that this app helps you with is, one, understand positional value within the context of your draft. That's this top section here, telling you which positions are most important to target. And then 2, specific player comparisons. It's going to help you decide with ceiling and floor, range of outcome analysis, and projected points custom to your league guard. I'm on the clock here. Garrett Wilson's there at the 11th overall pick. I'm going to go with him. I think there's a for sure chance we see Garrett Wilson be the wide receiver 1 overall. We got a ceiling of wide receiver 3 for Garrett Wilson in the Walter Picks app. That seems pretty realistic to me. He led the league in target share last season and had absolutely horrible quarterback play. Really his whole career, he's had horrible quarterback play. All right, so Marvin Harrison Jr., Jahmyr Gibbs off the board. All 12 of my first-round picks have been taken in the TikTok live. And this real draft I'm doing live on YouTube right now. I think I'm going to go Drake London. Yeah, we're going to go Drake London next. We'll start wide receiver. I kind of want to consider Jonathan Taylor and Saquon. The Walter Picks app is telling me running backs. I got to adjust the settings here, though, because this is a best ball draft. I'm going to need a lot of wide receivers. Has it pretty even when I made that adjustment. It does have Drake London as the top receiver in our rankings. So that's the other thing this draft was going to help you with is you're not going to find better rankings custom to your league settings than the Walter Picks app. Again, if you want to see the Walter Picks app in action in a live draft, come to the YouTube live. Links right in the TikTok bio. You're 2 presses of your finger away from me in a live draft with a live draft board. Picks happening. There's no better way to get an actual sense of how your draft is going to go than seeing a real draft with real money on the line. That's on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio. I'm drafting JJ as number 1 no matter what. He's getting 2,000 yards this season. I'm here for it, man. I am. I'm here for steaming up Justin Jefferson. I talked about this last live stream. I think Justin Jefferson is quarterback proof. That's why I'm taking Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase. That's why I'm taking Justin Jefferson over Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think there's a case to take Justin Jefferson over Bijan Robinson. I think there's a case for him over Tyreek Hill. I don't know about taking him over CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure if I would go that far, but I think there's at least an argument to be had there. But yeah, I would argue Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in the NFL. He averages like a solid 5 or more yards per game in his career compared to all these other receivers that are getting taken before him in a lot of these drafts. Tyreek Hill was better last season, though, and has a better quarterback situation. CeeDee Lamb was better last season in fantasy. He has a better quarterback situation. And Jamar Chase has a better quarterback situation as well, but he was not better in fantasy than Justin Jefferson last year. But when you zoom in on Justin Jefferson last season, he had 4 or 5 games with Nick Mullins. He averaged over 20 fantasy points per game in those games. Yards What's going on? We are so back. Hell yeah, man. This is the best time of the year. This is draft season. I can feel draft season on the cusp. I'm just like already in draft season. You know, the normal people, they'll be in draft season a month from now. I've been in draft season. I feel like we are in the heat of draft season already. We are so back. Glazing on Bijan, bro. Yeah, so I'm all in on Bijan. Like, I wouldn't knock anyone for taking Bijan with the top 3 pick in fantasy. I'm also all in on Kyle Pitts. I'm in on the Falcons in general. If there's 2 offenses that I expect to take the biggest leap forward from last season to this season, it is the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans. Both those offenses, I think, are going to look a lot different. I'm most bullish on the Atlanta Falcons, though. When you look at Bijan, they've already talked about using him in the CMC role. I'll pull up his game logs here. Bijan Robinson in the YouTube live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube live. I'm telling you the YouTube live is a better viewing experience of these live streams. And I'm in a live draft right now on YouTube. Very engaging to look at while I ramble about whatever we're talking about in the live. And you can also, I can pull up stats on the YouTube live. Like Bijan Robinson, you only average 12.8 half PPR points per game. But when you take a deeper look into some of the underlying metrics for both Bijan and Kyle Pitts, we'll get to Kyle Pitts in a second. But I'm trying to stay focused on Bijan here. And you just look at the receiving volume from Bijan last season. Look at all these games with over 5 targets, at least 5 targets. He ripped off 4 straight to start his career. He had a game with 8 targets, 10 targets, 7 targets. His last game of the season, another 8 targets. He had games over a 30% target share, not something you see from running backs. And on top of that, his rushing work is going to go up dramatically this season. The offense is going to be better. He could easily lead the league in touchdowns. That's what you want from your first round pick if you're drafting running back. All right, I'm about to be back on the clock. This is definitely a tough part of the draft for me, where I have found myself more and more, especially in these best ball drafts, just leaning towards the elite quarterbacks and the elite tight ends over these sort of higher end wide receiver 2s available in this range. I've been taking Josh Allen a lot recently. I'm going to take him here too, a little bit of ahead of average draft position. I started this draft. I had the 11th overall pick. Again, you're watching live in TikTok. Come to the YouTube live, 2 clicks away. It's in the TikTok bio at Walter Picks on YouTube. I'm in a live draft right now, real draft, not a mock draft. And I started this draft, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Josh Allen. This is a best ball draft, so a little bit different structure than home leagues. Happy to share more details on how this best ball structure works if anyone isn't familiar. And I think I got to go receiver again here. Walter's got Pittman, number 1. Christian Kirk's a close. They're basically projected the same thing. I haven't taken Michael Pittman very much in these drafts, so I'm going to go Pittman. Try to even out my exposure percentage a little bit here. I don't love this start. It's a bit of a different start for me than I've had in these drafts. These Best Ball Mania drafts have been pretty sharp. I start Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Josh Allen, Michael Pittman, a little bit of a 0 RB start for me so far in this live stream. Marvin Harrison is not a first round pick, bud. Yes, I disagree. I think Marvin Harrison is a back part of round 1, early round 2 pick, like pretty easily in fantasy football this year. And I don't think Malik Neighbors should be that far behind him either. I think Malik Neighbors is the better value in drafts right now. Marvin Harrison right now in drafts I've done over 200 drafts, best ball drafts. This is drafts you only do the draft. There's no in-season management. This is a different game format, so there will be different ADPs on Underdog in these best ball drafts than you'll see in your home leagues. Specifically, receivers are pumped up the board. So in your home leagues, Marvin Harrison's probably going to be a mid-second round pick, but I think there's a good argument to take him at the back end of the first round. He is arguably the best wide receiver prospect we've seen enter the NFL in recent history. He's my rookie wide receiver model, which hit on Justin Jefferson, which hit on Garrett Wilson, and some of the other elite prospects we've seen that have been taken to the top of the draft is all over Marvin Harrison Jr. as just on par with those guys. And he enters an offense where he's just so obviously the number 1 target. Like Marvin Harrison could easily hit a 30% target share this season, like well within his range of outcomes. I think his ceiling is a top 5 fantasy wide receiver, and his floor is pretty elite as well. I really don't see a world where Marvin Harrison isn't a consistent fantasy producer from day 1. So yeah, I'm in on Marvin Harrison Jr. I also believe in Kyler Murray, so that's part of it as well. All right, let's get back to some of the comments here in the YouTube Live and the TikTok Live. Reason for Bijan being that high. Yeah, he could easily lead the league in touchdowns. He's been his receiving usage was in the top 3 last season. Bijan Robinson, in terms of target share, had the 3rd highest target share in the NFL last season, 17% target share. There wasn't a single running back that ran more routes than Bijan. And the crazy thing about those 2 things is Bijan was only on the field for 68% of snaps last season. And I think his snap share could get into Christian McCaffrey range this season, get up to the 80% range. So he was already top 3 among all running backs in receiving usage, pass game usage. He actually ran more routes than every single running back in the NFL last season. And there was only one running back that participated in a larger percentage of their team's routes last season. That was Christian McCaffrey. But McCaffrey's snap percentage was like 80%, and Bijan's snap percentage was 68%. And for some reason, Bijan ranked 32nd in the league in red zone touches because Arthur Smith was there, and he's no longer there. He was dealing with an offense led by Desmond Ridder. That's not going to be the case this season. It's going to be Kirk Cousins, better offense, better usage, elite running back. This is a league-winning archetype all the way. I'm all the way in on Bijan. I think he's right up there in that Christian McCaffrey, or right behind that Christian McCaffrey tier. I put Brees, slightly behind Bijan, but he definitely has the chance to get that receiving role too. And being a better offense was upgrading QB as well. Similar situation there. I think those are the top 3 running backs pretty easily in fantasy this season. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Brees Hall, and Gibbs. Gibbs can get there. He might need an injury to get there, while those other guys don't. Saquon, JT, they can get there with the touchdowns. Achane, if he gets a little bit more usage. Derrick Henry can maybe get there with the touchdowns. Corinne Williams maybe could get there like we saw last season, but with Blake Corum there, not so sure about that. Pretty steep drop off at running back after that. All right, we're about to be back on the clock here. Don't love the running backs on the board at this point. I will take Kincaid to get that Josh Allen stack if he slides a couple more picks. And, of course, I jinxed that. I will take Kyle Pitts also. Yeah, I'll take Kyle Pitts here. Lead into the 0 running back build a little bit more. I should probably consider one running back here, but I'm probably going to also try to grab Kirk Cousins for the stack later on in this draft. Yo, where do you think Kyren Williams will go? Yeah, so I'm in a draft right now. If you're watching live on TikTok, I'm in a draft right now on YouTube Live. Shout out to everyone in YouTube Live right now. Also, hit that like button and subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. I'm in a live draft. I'm actually on the clock right now before I answer this question, and Godwin slides. So we're just going to keep not drafting running backs, and we'll see how this turns out for me. I've started 4 receivers, quarterback, tight end. I have been doing this at times, especially late in the draft order. So I had the 11th pick here. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. It's 2 clicks away in the TikTok bio. Walter Picks on YouTube is how you find this channel. But yeah, so Corinne Williams, he went in the the end of the 3rd round in this draft. I think in your home leagues, he'll probably go a little bit earlier. It'll be interesting what reports we see about Blake Corum, though. Corinne Williams is someone we've been really, really high on in the Walter Picks app in terms of rankings. There's kind of no way not to when you build out rankings like we do for the Walter Picks app, and we're adjusting these, talking about them every single day. When you build out rankings and you look back at last season for Corinne Williams, there's kind of no way he doesn't end up looking pretty good in those rankings, even if Blake Corum takes 35% of the backfield work. Like, Kyren Williams is still going to rank as a top 10 running back in projections, as he should. He was really up there in all the volume metrics, all the efficiency metrics last season, multiple games. This is half PPR scoring we're looking at on the YouTube Live right now. He had 5 games over 20 half PPR points. The role historically for the Sean McVay offense has just been so elite. He was not coming off the field. I do think he's going to have that scaled back a little bit this year, but still has definitely a chance to be a top 10 running back in fantasy. Lamb is too high. Yeah, so there's been some reports very, very recently, like in the last couple of days, that we might see a CeeDee Lamb holdout, that we might see a CeeDee Lamb trade request if he doesn't get that contract. I do not know what the Cowboys are waiting for. The Cowboys do not have a choice. They got to pay CeeDee Lamb. What about the Bears? I'll talk about the Bears in a second. I got to know your thoughts on K9 Charbonnet. Where do you think K9 should be drafted? Yeah, I'll touch on this quickly. I think I just passed on Kenneth Walker. He's still on the board, I think, here. Probably going to go off the board very soon. Yeah, there he goes. He gets picked right as we mentioned him at the back end of the 6th round here. My image is covering him a bit here. I'll scroll up on the YouTube Live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube Live. I'm telling you, better viewing experience over there. Link is in the TikTok bio. I'm in a live draft where you can see the draft board on the YouTube. About to explain how best ball works, which is the draft I'm doing right now. Okay. Yeah, so I agree that Kenneth Walker should go above Zach Charbonnet, but I've been drafting Zach Charbonnet at cost much more than I've been drafting Kenneth Walker. I think Zach Charbonnet is pretty much getting drafted at his floor. He's getting drafted in I think we'll see him go in the 9th or 10th round. He has standalone value. He ran more routes and got more targets than Kenneth Walker last season. And there's a new coaching staff in Seattle now as well. There's really no ties to Kenneth Walker with his current coaching staff. I do think Kenneth Walker is the big play, better early down runner compared to Zach Charbonnet, who's a little bit of a less sexy rusher, but is a better receiving back. I think we're going to see something similar to what we saw last year, but I think that there's contingent upside there for Zach Charbonnet. If Kenneth Walker goes down, he has a chance to be a league winner, and I think he's got standalone value too. I feel like Kenneth Walker is getting drafted a little bit closer to his ceiling where Zach Charbonnet's getting drafted closer to his floor. So I've been leaning Charbonnet in drafts. But yeah, it's definitely Kenneth over Charbonnet in terms of pure rankings. And ADP definitely has it. Average draft position has it that way as well. All right, how does best ball work? Yeah, so I've done a lot of best ball drafts so far. Let me explain the best ball format quickly for everyone tuned into this live. Let me show you too on the TikTok live. Let me pull up a different background of some of my hotter takes for this season. You guys can look through those. Let me know which of those you agree or disagree with on the TikTok live. But yeah, so best ball is the best. It's the best fantasy football format for this time of year. Nothing's going to beat the home league, the in-season management league against your friends. Nothing's going to beat that. But for this time of year, when there's so much uncertainty, best ball format's the way to go. So in best ball, all you do is the draft. There's no in-season management, no adding, dropping, no starting, no sitting, no trading. All you do is the draft. If your guy gets hurt on your team that you drafted, that's just tough. There's nothing you can do about that. That's why roster construction is extremely important in this best ball format. This is a half PPR format. Your best lineup is automatically submitted for you at the end of the week. That's why there's no start-sit decision. That's why it's called best ball. Your best lineup is submitted every single week. All you do is the draft. If I win, if I come in first or second in this league, then I move on to week 15 in the fantasy playoffs against other teams that came in first and second in their leagues. We're on the clock here. The running backs are not looking super appealing at this point. Sometimes Najee Harris slides. Wow, Najee and Jalen Warren both went already. Walter Picks is telling me Ramondre Stevenson, so we're going to lean Mondre here. Don't feel great about that on a team that has the second lowest win total. Mondre should get decent volume. Should have some pass catching role. Aaron Jones is next in the Walter Picks rankings too. Let me pull up these running back rankings here. I probably will consider him. Also don't hate going Bowers. I do like getting two of these elite tight ends. One of these two guys I wouldn't hate, even though I already went Pitts, and then I only need two tight ends on this team. Keon Coleman sitting there too. He's been sliding a lot in these drafts. I already have Josh Allen. We're at pick 86. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Keon Coleman. A lot of people are pumping Keon Coleman down boards, and I do get it to some extent. There's been some kind of rough quotes, but I'm willing to buy into this fear out there of Keon Coleman right now. I think he could surprise some people in preseason. Where do you rank King Henry? Yeah, I've been a bit higher on Derrick Henry, especially in half PPR, non-PPR formats than what I've seen other people. Wow, look at this guy in the middle of this draft. Coach Jay Hill, 2, 4, 5. He ripped off 5 straight running backs and then 2 tight ends. Does this man know you need receivers in this format? I absolutely love seeing guys like this in my drafts. Like, this guy is dead. His team is already dead. Does not matter what he does the rest of the draft. He hasn't taken a receiver. You need to start at least 3 receivers every single week in this format. And there's also a flex spot. So you can start as many as 4 receivers. And then you look at the receivers left in this draft, and there's just zero chance. There's no world, no matter how many receivers this guy takes the rest of the draft, that he can compete with the receiver room I have, with the receiver room other teams in this draft have taken. And I could still compete with him on tight end points. I'm definitely not going to catch him on running back points, but I'm like 1 or 2 injuries away. Say I draft Tyler Algier and Bijan gets hurt. All of a sudden, I maybe could catch him on running back points. There's at least a path there. The receivers' injuries don't make that path, which is part of the reason the zero running back strategy makes sense in these big tournaments. He goes receiver there with Curtis Samuel. We'll see how that team ends up here. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, guys. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. I'm telling you, it's a better viewing experience. I'm in a live draft right now, too, on the YouTube live, so you can see that as it unfolds. Bijan, Barkley, and Henry is crazy. That's definitely crazy. Are you a fan of any of these second-round wide receivers? I see a lot of people off them. Yeah, so the second-round receivers are like one huge tier. To me, I think I got Marvin Harrison in the second round. I really think he's more of a first-round pick. I like him the most here. I considered I got Drake London here. Marvin Harrison won 1 pick before. I don't hate Drake London. I'm into the Atlanta offense just in general. So I took Pitts and London. I'm pretty high on Bijan as well. I don't hate Jalen Waddle. Went a little ahead of ADP here. I think Jalen Waddle is a really high floor, high ceiling guy. Jalen Waddle, if Tyreek Hill gets hurt, Jalen Waddle can be a top 3 fantasy wide receiver. And when Tyreek Hill is healthy, Jalen Waddle can still be a top 10 fantasy football wide receiver. There's very few offenses able to manufacture touches to their best players like the Dolphins can. So I don't hate him. But like all these other guys, they just feel in such a similar tier. To me, it feels weird to see Devontae Adams go so late. but we saw at times last season him kind of fade away with a tough quarterback situation, run first offense. He's also up there. I think he's around 32 years old now. I can actually see that now in the game logs of the Walter Picks app. He's 31 and a half years old. He'll turn 32 this season. Getting up there for Devontae Adams. I really like Cooper Kupp. He's usually going in the third round. Malik Neighbors too. So like this whole wide receiver tier, I like guys in this tier. But I think in home leagues, I'm going to be taking like at least one running back in the first 2 rounds in almost all these home league drafts, especially if we see ADP like this, where you're getting Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor in the second round, Devon Achane and Derrick Henry in the third round. I don't think that'll be what home league drafts are like, though. What do you think about Rashee Rice and Puka this year? Yeah, so Rashee Rice is probably going to get a suspension. There's still a chance that he doesn't get a suspension, though. I think most likely we see Rashee Rice get a 4-game suspension. We'll probably get more news on that very soon. But when he comes back, I don't think we can expect quite as consistent production from him as last year, with Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy in the mix now. Are going to be back on the clock. Dallas Goedert's still there. This guy's probably not going to take Dallas. I should probably go Khalil Shakir to continue this Bill stack. I should probably go Tyjae Spears, actually. I'm going to go tight end next. I'm going to go Spears first, then Khalil Shakir. I think Tyjae Spears has been my most drafted player so far in 200 drafts that I've done. I can't stop drafting him. I can't stop drafting Tyjae Spears. I'll talk about that in a second as well. Definitely really like his upside, and I think he's an injury away too from winning fantasy leagues. We'll see. I got to think through Shakir versus Goddard here. I already have Kyle Pitts. I think I got to go Shakir and continue this Bills Josh Allen stack. We look at Tyjae Spears' game logs from last season. He also feels like someone getting drafted like a little bit close to his floor. So this is his game logs with Derrick Henry in the mix. You look at his efficiency, the underlying efficiency for Tyjae Spears, though. He was number 3, I think, in the NFL in yards per touch, 7.7. So that was 7.7 yards per touch was Devon Achane. I think he was around 6 yards per touch from Tyjae Spears. He was top 5 in the NFL in that metric. And he really produced every single time he was out there. He was extremely efficient with his touches. And for me, again, it's the target volume. Look at these target shares in the back half of the season for Tyjae Spears. 18%, 22%, 26%, 24% target shares in 4 of his last 5 weeks. He had over 14% target share in 5 of his first 7 games in the NFL. This is a good receiving back that's going to see more work on the ground in an offense that I think is going to throw even more this season too. I'm pretty bullish on the Titans offense taking a step forward, being more pass heavy this season too. Who should I draft at 14.1 and 15.2? I'm thinking Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. Thoughts? Yeah, if those guys are there, I think those are solid picks for sure, especially in a season-long league, a more traditional season-long league compared to this best ball drafts that I'm doing right now. Let's see how Jay Hill is doing here in the middle of the draft. He has taken 2 receivers. He went quarterback to stack with George Kittle. He still only has 2 receivers. Pretty crazy. I have 6 receivers. He has 2 in this draft right now. Again, I'm live on YouTube right now if you're watching live on TikTok. Shout out to the people in the YouTube live, by the way. If you guys are tuning in to a fantasy football draft in the beginning of July, like you are in the right place and you are like light years ahead of the rest of your fantasy league. You guys are going to absolutely crush this season. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait for the drafts to pick up. I'm already like knee deep in drafts. So this is the best time of the year for me. If you guys haven't yet, you got to check out the Walter Picks app. Link is in the TikTok bio. Link is in the YouTube description if you haven't yet. So many improvements to the app this season. There's already so much research you can do for your fantasy draft in the Walter Picks app. Tons of improvements still coming as well. The Bears are definitely going to also be one of the more improved offenses. I've been definitely taking some stabs on Caleb Williams in these drafts. You saw he went in the middle of round 10 here, stacked with Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore in this draft. This team is actually not bad. Here from the 6th spot. They got Jonathan Taylor too, so they go to hero running back build. Bears stacked. Definitely an interesting build here. It's going to be tough from a season-long perspective. I think Rome Odunze, is it Odunze or Dunze? Because I've been saying Odunze. I've seen half people say Odunze. I've seen half people say Odunze. Maybe it's not even either of those two. So someone can correct me, please. This is crazy. Jefferson over both. He doesn't have a QB. Yeah, this is the thing. Justin Jefferson didn't have a QB for the last 4 weeks of the season last year. He had Nick Mullins. He averaged 22 fantasy points per game in those games with Nick Mullins. Justin Jefferson, like he can make in the Viking scheme with Justin Jefferson, he's going to be fine. I don't really care which quarterback it ends up being for the Vikings. It can be Sam Darnold. That's going to be fine. I think Sam Darnold will be fine. And if it's JJ McCarthy, I think that's going to be fine too. Both those guys are better than Nick Mullins, or at least as good as Nick Mullins, who I do not think very highly of. As long as it's something better than Jarrett Allen. Or Jarrett Hall. Who is it throwing him passes at one point last season? We're going to try to get Kirk with the next pick, not this one. And yeah, we'll go Sharp here. I talked about him a little bit earlier. He'll be my RB3 in the 0 running back build. Injury away from winning leagues. And he's got standalone value as the pass catcher in that Seahawks offense. Kendre Miller, Marshawn Lloyd. I'm thinking about both those guys right now. I've been taking a lot of Jahan Dotson too. I do have that Atlanta stack, so I actually am going to go Dotson, who plays the Falcons in Week 17. Jahan Dotson feels like a good bounce back candidate this year. I think people are underrating Jaden Daniels' deep passing abilities too. Hell yeah, Yarsman. I know that will be the case today in Week 1. It's closer than we think. This is me too getting my practice in for Week 1. This is the best time of year, man. Low stakes, high rewards here. This could be the one. This could be the draft that nets a $1.5 million first place prize. Let me show you guys the details here for this draft. If you're watching live on YouTube, again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, I'm in a live draft on YouTube at Walter Picks on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio as well. Breeze top 5 pick, not quite a top 5 pick. Again, I'll switch this back on the TikTok live to how I think the first round should go. I have at 8. I have Breeze at 8. So the first place prize in this tournament is $1.5 million. They flattened out the payout structure here in this draft this year. I've never made the finals. It is extremely. You have a 0.0006% chance to make the finals because there are how many total people? 672,000 teams I'm competing against. This is why you got to take some risks in this format. This is why I didn't take a running back until round 7 in this draft. I went as a 0 running back strategy in this one. But this could be the one. Why not? Josh Allen stacked with Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir. I started Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Josh Allen, Michael Pittman, Kyle Pitts, Chris Godwin, Mondre, Keon Coleman, Tyjae Spears, Khalil Shakir, Zach Sharp, Jahan Dotson. I don't hate it. I don't feel amazing about the start either. I veered away from some of my more usual picks. I actually had no idea Saquon Barkley. That is very funny. Yeah, Saquon Barkley maybe we'll get into the first round of home league drafts. This is leaning a little bit wide receiver heavy. I've taken a lot of Saquon, but in the best ball drafts I've done so far, I'm not sure if Saquon's going to be a first round pick or not. I could see it. I think Saquon and JT probably will both find their way into the first round of more traditional home league drafts versus the best ball drafts I've been doing. But I've seen Saquon Barkley go in the 3rd round. I like him more than that. I think we have him ranked as a first round pick in the Walter Picks app. The problem with Saquon is going to be the tush push and targets. Like I don't think the targets are going to come for Saquon or JT this season, playing alongside rushing QBs who historically don't target running backs. And I also don't think I'm also a little bit worried about the tush push. I think that the reason I don't want to underrate Saquon this year, though, is similar to what we saw with David Montgomery. When David Montgomery went from the Bears to the Lions last season, and he was top 5 in the league in touchdowns, like we could easily see a similar thing with Saquon. Saquon's going from a bottom 5 New York Giants offensive line that maybe was the second worst or worst offensive line. The Panthers were bad, but maybe the worst offensive line, run blocking offensive line in the NFL last season, the New York Giants. And then he's going to the Philadelphia Eagles, a top 5 offensive line, even without Jason Kelce. Like the impacts of that are not to be underestimated by any means. I don't want to underestimate that. I still think Saquon's a great running back, but he's not going to see the target volume he has seen historically in his career in this offense and with Jalen Hurts. And I don't think he's going to. And I'm a little bit worried still about the tush push. That's it, though. Those are my only concerns with Saquon. I think he's a fine midway through the first round, back into the first round pick. All right, I'm going to consider Tyler Algier here as a part of this build. Kirk Cousins got snagged. Who took Kirk Cousins? Probably got picked way ahead of ADP. Let's see. This guy took Kirk Cousins. Of course, it was the guy stacking running backs in the first round. Ended up taking Kirk Cousins. He had Darnell Mooney stacking Kirk Cousins. I still need one tight end. I kind of want to wait on that. A couple backdoor quarterback stacks. I guess I could go Aaron Rodgers. I've been taking a lot of Deshaun Watson in these drafts. I don't have any Browns or Dolphins, though. I think I'm going to go Adam Thielen here. He plays Chris Godwin in week 17. I can maybe get Baker or Bryce as my second quarterback on this team. Tenth and 11th, go double wide receiver, you think? Yeah, it depends on the format of your league. This is why I always recommend to use the Walter Picks app when you're doing your fantasy drafts, because there's no other resource out there like the Walter Picks app that can really account for your league settings and your league situation. This is one of the biggest things in fantasy football is everyone's league is different. Everyone's scoring is different. Everyone's league tendencies are different. Like if your league is going to lean really, really running back heavy in those first 2 rounds, you probably want at least one running back in your first 2 picks. But if you know that your league's going to lean towards wide receiver, I do think there's a decent drop-off after Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe after Drake London. Really, it's after Garrett Wilson, though. Like CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson. One of the number 1 overall wide receivers in that list, like almost 100%. I'd be pretty surprised if the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy football wasn't one of those 8 guys. And like probably the top 5 are out of all those 8 guys. So there's a huge edge in getting those guys. That people underrate too, like the difference in consistency at the wide receiver position at the top versus the middle tier. There's just a whole level different of ceiling and a whole level difference of consistency you're getting from these guys: CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Puka, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, especially in PPR leagues. No Diggs or Nico Collins. No, not in the first round. Absolutely no chance. I think a certain league of mine may be running back heavy in the first 2 rounds. Yeah, I definitely think that is the case in my league. If you're in the 32 creator league draft, that league is definitely an entire beast of its own. Is Kyren Williams going in the 2nd round? Yeah, so I've seen him in the drafts I've been doing. He's going in the 3rd round. I bet he'll go in the 2nd round, though, in most home league drafts. But we got to see what the reports out of the Rams camp are about Blake Corum in his usage, because I've been leaning a little bit more towards him at his cost. I think Blake Corum is more likely to win leagues than Kyren Williams at their different costs. Like there's a huge risk with Kyren Williams at his steep cost if Blake Corum ends up getting half of the work, a third of the work, but then also there's an injury away from winning leagues, but he's going in the 11th, 12th round versus Kyren's going in the 2nd, 3rd round. Like I think I'm just going to lean towards that contingent upside rather than the risk in the 2nd, 3rd rounds. But man, Kyren Williams was so good last season. I also don't want to underestimate what he did last year. He was extremely consistent. He did not come off the field. It just feels like he's more likely to come off the field this year. He dealt with injuries down the stretch that kind of hurt them in the playoffs. He wasn't fully healthy in the playoffs. He missed week 18. He wasn't fully healthy, wasn't seeing his full allotment of pass game work either in the back half of last season because of the injuries that he sustained. Then they go out and they draft Blake Corum. I think he got drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. It was like the 3rd running back taken. The 2nd or 3rd running back. It was the Panthers who took Jonathan Brooks. And then I think Blake Corum, Trey Benson, I think went 2nd. Blake Corum went 3rd. All right, I'm about to be back on the clock. Aaron Rodgers is still there. I don't hate that. I already have Garrett Wilson. He's way past ADP at this point. I can probably wait, though, one more pick. I'll probably go to Conklin here. He has a week 12 bye, though. Rodgers also has a week 12 bye, so I can't really do that. We're going to go Braylon Allen first. I think I might have to go Bryce here. I kind of want to get one of these tight ends, though. Isaiah Likely. What's Walter telling me right now? Roshan Johnson, Jalen Tolbert's at the top. What tight ends at the top of these rankings? Yeah, it's Likely. Last top 20 tight end available here. This is bold. Yeah, this is definitely a bit bold. Where's Manu Ginobili going? Not sure. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, hit the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, hit the like button. It does help me out a lot. How to become a 32-team creator for me, Sean? If you are actually interested in being a creator on our team, you can email me, sam@walterpicks.com. You can shoot me an email, and I will respond. about how you can get into that application process. There's an application process for that, and it is not for the weak. It is not for the unserious, I would say. Very competitive to get one of the spots. But Sean, if you're interested, I can absolutely send you the application info to direction. There are still a couple spots up for applicants. Puka and Williams are both going to have good seasons, but won't be worth their draft spots, in my opinion. Yeah, I feel more confident in Puka than I do in Corinne Williams. There's such a long history, pretty much the whole career of Matthew Stafford is just him absolutely peppering his top receiver or top receivers with targets. Like there's just no world where you don't see Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp over 25% target share this season. Every single year of Matthew Stafford's career, that's what you see from his top receivers. He's going to pepper them with targets, and he's not going to stop. So I feel better about Puka and Cooper Kupp, honestly, than I do about Corinne Williams, just because Blake Corum's there, and he had some injuries down the stretch last year. A little bit more nervous about Corinne than Puka and Cooper Kupp for those reasons. I've seen Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp's been going in the third round. I have a feeling he might sneak into the second round in home league drafts. It'll be interesting. It might be a draft by draft thing too. Some people care about the age more than other leagues. Some leagues care about it more than other leagues. But I think Cooper Kupp's like a pretty firm round 2 wide receiver for me. Like right after Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, maybe Mike Evans. I feel like that one's honestly pretty close. Evans had a better season last year. I think people like I'm of the belief that Cooper Kupp was not himself last year, but is back to full health. And like he is, the age rules don't apply to Cooper Kupp as much as some other players, because that's just how good Cooper Kupp is. That's how well he takes care of his body and how well he's able to come back. And he's 100% healthy now. And he was not 100% healthy last season. He missed the start of the season, and he was sort of playing through injuries the whole year. A lot of guys, that ends up being the case. I'm willing to buy into a fully healthy Cooper Kupp, though. There goes Bryce Young. I still have not taken a second quarterback on this team. It might have to be Drake May. I'm not going to take Geno Smith. I don't feel good about Geno Smith at all in these drafts. I do like how the running back room turned out. I will take Roshan if he's there. I'll think about Dameon Pierce too. I already took 8 receiver. I only got, how many picks do I have left? Not many. Looks like we disconnected here on the Walter Picks app. Yeah, I have 2 picks left. It's got to be a running back and a quarterback. Where do you have Jordan Love as QB? Yeah, let me pull up the QB ranks. Yeah, let me go back. I got Jordan Love as QB 10. We have him as QB 10 in the Walter Picks app. Right after CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow. I think there's like a really elite ceiling though for Jordan Love this season. We had a ceiling in the Walter Picks app as QB 6. I actually think that might have been upgraded to QB 3 recently. I'm not sure how up to date this data is or not. All right, we're gonna start here with Roshan Johnson. What is this guy doing? He's only got 5 receivers. This felt like a relatively weak draft. We'll see if he goes receiver here. He must go receiver here. If not, that's probably a mistake. Got to have at least 7 receivers in this format. Let's see how this guy did too. Wow, he's still ripping running backs. How many? He has. Oh, sorry, wrong team. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, he's been ripping receivers. He got 8 receivers now. Look at this guy's receiver room. There's Darnell Mooney, Quentin Johnson, Wandale, Luke McCaffrey, Darius Slayton. I mean, there's some spike weeks in there. I actually don't hate all these guys. Leave some upside. You got Mike Williams, Rashid Shaheed, Curtis Samuel. Not a horrible effort here. Really, just I think a little bit leaning too running back heavy. Like after these first 3 picks, Bijan, Saquon, Derrick Henry, I don't hate a triple running back start more than probably most people would, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to come back from that. And yeah, I think I'm going to go Drake May here with my last pick. I guess he's stacked with Ramondre, sort of. I don't really have a stack partner with him, but at least some rushing upside. I just need to be playing in week 12 by the time Josh Allen goes on by. Otherwise, this team should be fine. Don't hate how this ended up. Definitely different than most of my teams. Final roster here, Josh Allen, Drake May. This is a live draft I'm doing on YouTube. I'm going to do one more. Did you go to school with DE? I don't know what that means. Do not know what that means. Josh Allen, Drake May. My first pick in this draft, first two picks, Garrett Wilson, Drake London. So I stacked Josh Allen in this draft with Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, but they also play the Jets in Week 17. So I got some Week 17 correlation going on. I got Josh Allen stack against Braylon Allen. I've been taking a lot of Braylon Allen late. Really like the upside there. I think there's some standalone potential touchdown upside value there for Braylon Allen on the Jets too. They drafted him, and all by all reports so far, he's like the clear number 2 running back on that team. He's a rookie for the Jets this season. I also got Garrett Wilson. So Garrett Wilson and Braylon Allen on the Week 17 correlated stack with the Buffalo Bills. I got Mondre. I went a 0 running back build. I did not take a running back in this team until round 7. I got Ramondre Stevenson, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, Tyler Algier, Braylon Allen, Roshan Johnson. Basically, all of these guys outside of Mondre is an injury away from winning leagues and offers at least some path to standalone half PPR upside with some pass catching ability, really outside of Tyler Algier, who he's just straight up handcuffed. He's an injury away from winning leagues, but probably is not going to do much unless Bijan goes down. And then at the receiver room, leaned really receiver heavy early. Got Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Chris Godwin, and then stacked Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir with Josh Allen. Got Jahan Dotson, Adam Thielen to round out the receiver room. And tight ends, got Kyle Pitts and Isaiah Likely. I'm going to pull up the hot takes here again on the TikTok Live. We'll talk through some of these before I hop in one more draft here. We're going to do one more here before we wrap up this live stream. 2 more spots, then we'll get going. Hopefully I get an earlier pick this time so we can see something different. Let me also resync here to Underdog. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, stick around. I'm about to do one more live draft. Man, I think I got the 10th pick. Gosh, I cannot buy an early pick in these drafts. Got the 10th pick. Again, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Do you think CeeDee Lamb will leave the Cowboys? I don't think we see CeeDee Lamb on the field for the Cowboys if he doesn't get a contract extension. But I think he's going to get a contract extension. He's got to get a contract extension. Like, what are you going to do other than pay CeeDee Lamb in a situation for the Cowboys? Receiver is such an important position in today's NFL. The Cowboys have done absolutely nothing on offense this season but bring back a dusty Ezekiel Elliott. This is the worst offensive supporting cast I've seen for Dak Prescott, I think, ever. At the 12-man league, 101, who are you taking at the turn? Yeah, I mean, there's so many, still a little too early to tell exactly who's going to be there at the turn for you. But I do really like Cooper Kupp. I've seen him slide to the turn there. I think that's a pretty strong move. Jalen Waddle is the guy I'd be looking at. In terms of running backs, Devon Achane, it would be worth considering. Malik Neighbors, if he's there, I'm going to be strongly considering him at the turn. All paths lead to Malik Neighbors being the focal point of the Giants offense. The Giants have absolutely nothing other than Malik Neighbors. And I think it's going to be Daniel Jones too. I think Daniel Jones is a decent value in these early drafts. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a reach here for Malik Neighbors in this spot. I really don't love reaching past ADP in these early drafts though. So we'll see. I got the 10th pick. We'll see what ends up sliding to me. I'm live on YouTube, guys. Come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. Walter Picks on YouTube. I'm in a live. This is a real draft, a live $25 draft that's being broadcasted on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio. Click that link. You're 2 press your finger away from a live draft. We just saw the first 5 picks rip off. Christian McCaffrey went 1. CeeDee Lamb went 2. This is what I'm seeing in almost every single draft I've done. McCaffrey 1. CeeDee Lamb 2. Then it's Tyreek Hill 3. That's pretty common. Jamar Chase 4. That is also common. I think we're seeing perfect ADP here so far. Jefferson went 5. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes 6. We're going to see Bijan and Brees go into the next 3 picks almost definitely in this draft here. I have the 10th pick, so I'm coming up soon. And you'll see what I do. I'll probably go Puka Nacua or A.J. Brown with my pick. If Bijan or Brees slide, I'll probably go for one of those guys. Bijan goes at the 7th overall pick. Really, really like the 7, 8 picks. There goes Brees, as I'm predicting perfectly. And this one, probably going to be Puka Nacua or A.J. Brown. Man, this is definitely an ADP draft. ADP draft room here. I think I'm going to go Puka if he's there. I'm going to go Puka or A.J. Brown. I took Garrett Wilson in the last draft. I don't want to do the same draft twice in a row. This guy's about to auto pick A.J. Brown. He goes Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's do this comparison here on the right of the screen if you're watching live on YouTube. Oh, let me pull this down a little bit. Sorry about that. Similar projections here, slightly higher ceiling for A.J. Brown. I haven't gotten a ton of A.J. Brown either, so yeah, I'm going to go A.J. here. I don't hate Puka Nacua. One of my favorite starts at the back part of this draft, we're going to take A.J. Brown here. One of my favorite starts at the back part of this draft is if you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Puka Nacua stacked together. They play each other in the finals, week 17. He had CeeDee Lamb at number 2. Yeah, so I can go back to how I think the first round should go. This was slightly similar to what you saw if you're watching live on YouTube. I'm telling you, Chase Brown taking over. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. G5 will finish top 3. Yeah, if you mean if by G5 you mean Garrett Wilson, I don't think that's like out of the realm of possibilities. Thoughts on Brandon Ayuka, the bazooka? Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be back with the 49ers, and if he is, I think in PPR formats, I'd gladly take him over Deebo Samuel. In half PPR formats, I think it's closer. I still think I'd lean Ayuk, and then in non-PPR formats, give me Deebo with the rushing production all day. We have him half PPR projected a little bit ahead of Deebo here. Similar ceiling, slightly better floor though for Ayuk. And you scroll down, you look at the stats, and you see exactly why you got to project Ayuk over Deebo Samuel. Every single receiving stat in the direction of Deebo Samuel last year. Air yards, look at the difference in air yards. Like these are just two completely different usage players here. All of the production for Deebo comes after the catch. Not the case for Brandon Ayuk. We're on the clock. We went with A.J. Brown first. I think I'm going to go JT this time and take an early running back. Actually, screw that. I'm going with Jalen Waddle. We're starting A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle. I think we decided Waddle go with like a similar pick here. A little ahead of ADP here with Waddle, but I am starting to warm up as him being one of the guys that can take down a tournament. Malik Neighbors goes a little earlier too. This guy starts Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors stacked together. So this draft that started very ADP heavy is now quickly veering off from average draft position. Again, I'm live on TikTok, guys, and YouTube. Come to the YouTube live. I'm doing a live draft on YouTube right now. You can see the draft board as it's happening. Shout out to everyone in the YouTube live. Hit that like and subscribe button. It does help me out a ton. Shout out to everyone in the TikTok live too. Not a bad place to tune in. Hit the follow button if you haven't yet on the TikTok live. And guys, the best way you can possibly support me is by downloading the Walter Picks app. It is free to download. It is a free app. There are so many free features in this app. I can't even list them all. It's all of the features are going to help you dominate in fantasy, dominate in betting. Link to that is in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. Use code SAM when you sign up if you haven't used it before. I have the 4th pick in Dynasty. What do I do? Yeah, what type of Dynasty league is this? I need to know the settings of the Dynasty league. Is it a 2 QB league? If it's a 2 QB league, you almost definitely should be going quarterback. If it's not a 2 QB league, they definitely changes things pretty dramatically. I think a lot of the Dynasty leagues are PPR Superflex, you got to go quarterback. Like there's so many good young quarterbacks in the league right now to pick from. Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love are definitely all up there. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, like one of these guys. Pick your poison at the top of Superflex Dynasty drafts. Is it good that I have 4 of your top 11 in my Dynasty league? Yes, that's definitely very, very good. Nope, no Henry Ruggs in my top 12. I won 2 leagues and finished second in 2 more. Love to see that, man. Absolutely love that. That is what gets me up in the morning, man. We are in the 3rd round of a live draft on YouTube. If you're watching live on TikTok, shout out to everyone on YouTube live. Let me know if there's any questions you want me to talk through as this draft unfolds. I started wide receiver again in this draft. Started A.J. Brown with my 1st round pick, Jalen Waddle with my 2nd round pick. We're going to be back on the board soon. Adjust the settings here again. Pump up the wide receivers. Cooper Kupp is still on the board. I definitely will take him. He's almost definitely going to get snagged, though. This is like the toughest part of the draft. Once Cooper Kupp's off the board, such a tough part of the draft for me. I would really, really love to see him slide one more pick, but he's almost definitely not going to. I think I'll go Laporta this time and not go with the Josh Allen build. Yep, there goes Cooper Kupp, of course. Jalen Hurts is sitting there. I might go him after with my next pick if he's there in the next round. Going to end up doing a little bit of a 0 RB build again. Thoughts on Hall and Allen for Keeper League? Yeah, Breece Hall is the choice over Josh Allen in a keeper league. That's a snag. Yeah, Colin, I don't hate that at all. AJ Brown or Jamar Chase, keeper. Yeah, it's got to be Jamar Chase over AJ Brown. Josh Allen gets picked. We'll see if this guy snags Jalen Hurts from me. Stephon Diggs goes, Zay Flowers goes, and I'll get Jalen Hurts pretty easily here. This guy's not going to take Allen and Hurts. Kelsey in round 3 this year. Yes, I like if there's one guy that's just going to absolutely crush me in fantasy this year, it's going to be Travis Kelsey. I can't look at last season for Kelsey. I'll pull up the game logs here on the right side of the screen of the YouTube Live again. YouTube Live is a better live streaming viewing experience because I can share my computer screen. I can talk through game logs and show them on screen. You can come to the YouTube Live, watch live on TikTok. Link is in the TikTok bio. But you look at the numbers last year from Travis Kelsey to start the season, and you can see why people were taking Travis Kelsey in the first round, in beginning of the second round of drafts last year. It was warranted. Week 1. Travis Kelsey ends up not playing. This happened like very, very briefly, right, like very, very suddenly, right before the season. Travis Kelsey all of a sudden picked up a small injury, didn't end up playing week 1. He comes back in week 2, 9 targets, 4 catches, 26 yards, touchdown. Another touchdown in week 3. He had 4 touchdowns in his first 6 games. But you look at the production down the stretch for Travis Kelsey. And the thing that matters the most in fantasy football is the playoffs. Weeks 15, 16, and 17 is where you win leagues in fantasy football. And I just don't have enough confidence that Travis Kelsey is going to be the elite Travis Kelsey we need him to be in the fantasy football playoffs. I feel pretty good that he's going to help you get there, but getting there is not enough. I want to win when I'm there. And it makes too much sense in real life football for the Kansas City Chiefs to not push Travis Kelsey to his limit at the back end of the regular season. They're going to already be in the playoffs, and they're going to want him fully healthy for the playoff stretch, exactly like they did last season, where you saw Travis Kelsey. Let me pull up the snap percentage here. You see his snap percentage decline to around 80%. You see his route participation decline to around 80%. You see his targets decline to, he didn't have a game with more than 7 targets down the stretch. 0 touchdowns. Lower red zone usage. The Chiefs in general sort of shifted to a more run-heavy approach. And you obviously don't know for sure they're going to be locked into the playoffs already. And if they're fighting for a playoff spot, I could eat my words here. But Travis Kelsey, who's going to turn 35 this NFL season, I just prefer, there's enough good tight ends in fantasy right now. I'd prefer not to spend an early round pick on Kelsey. I'd prefer to wait. Either spend it on one of the younger early round picks like Sam Laporta, like I did in this draft a little bit earlier than Travis Kelsey went. I like Mark Andrews a bit more than him too. Mark Andrews a bit younger than Kelsey. I think Andrews is closer to the 29 range. Yeah, he's 28.8. He'll be 29 this season. And Mark Andrews is a solid 6 years younger than Travis Kelsey in a similar role. I don't hate Trey McBride, though. I don't love him as much as Laporta and Andrews. And I'm also fine just waiting a little bit longer and getting Jake Ferguson or Kyle Pitts later too. All right, we're going to be back on the clock here. Calvin Ridley sitting there. Jalen Hurts, James Cook. I think I'm going to go James Cook, first running back here. And I'll take one of these 3 guys, assuming one of them slides to my next pick. We'll see about that. Totally fine going Sam Laporta and Kyle Pitts, by the way, in this best ball format. Puka is 10th overall in my rankings on the TikTok Live. This guy barely got drafted. Yeah, he barely got drafted, but I care so much more about what you show me in the NFL than whatever your prospect profile was during the NFL draft before we saw you play NFL games. And you look at what Puka Nacua did last season, 15.2 points per game, 9.5 targets per game. We've seen a long, long history of Matthew Stafford peppering his number 1 receiver with targets. It's going to be no different this year for Puka Nacua. We've also seen historically year 2 is often a year where you see a big leap from receivers in the NFL. If you take any sense of a leap from year 1 to year 2, Puka Nacua is going to smash no matter where you take him in fantasy. He feels like one of the higher floor, higher ceiling guys in fantasy football this year. And we're going to go Chris Godwin again in this draft. I honestly, I like this start a little bit more than my start in the last draft. This start, I got AJ. I'm doing a live draft on YouTube right now, by the way, for TikTok people who aren't sure what I'm talking about. Come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. I'm in a live draft right now. I started AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, Sam Laporta, Jalen Hurts stacked with AJ Brown. I got James Cook as my first running back. And then Chris Godwin was my most recent pick in the 6th round. So I got AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, James Cook, Jalen Hurts, Sam Laporta so far. What about Cooper Kupp? Yeah, I still like Cooper Kupp a lot too. I actually like Cooper Kupp more than Puka Nacua at their cost. Cooper Kupp's going right now. I'm getting Cooper Kupp in the 3rd round. I almost got Cooper Kupp in the end of the 3rd round in this draft. I'm doing live on YouTube right now. Again, link to that is in the TikTok bio. If you want to see what a real draft looks like right now, come to the YouTube Live. If you are in the YouTube Live, shout out to you. Shout out to you. We got 6 people in the YouTube Live right now. We're going to have 600 in the YouTube Live by week 1. Appreciate everyone in this live stream right now, guys. Seriously, all of your support, especially in the beginning of July. Anyone tuning into fantasy football content, man, you guys are my people for real. All right, we got like a draft, like what, a little over half this draft left to go. Like we're a third of the way through this draft. Nico over Marv. No, I would not take Nico over Marv. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell. They're all going to have huge spike weeks this season, but good luck guessing which of them is going to be spiking in any given week. I feel like they're going to be really, really tough in managed leagues, at least one of them. And my bet is honestly on Steph Diggs being the most frustrating probably of the group, but it could easily be Tank Dell. It could easily be Nico Collins. They're going to be tough guys for me to draft, I think, in traditional season-long leagues. I don't mind them in this best ball format where I don't have to guess which weeks they're going to spike. Jonathan Taylor, if healthy, will be RB1. I'm grabbing top 8. I don't hate that. I'm fine. I'm cool with that in season-long leagues. I'm skewing a little bit wide receiver heavy because I'm doing best ball drafts where this is typically what we're seeing. So I'm in a real draft right now on YouTube. This is a $25 draft on Underdog. It's a best ball draft, so it's a little bit different. Skews very wide receiver heavy, but the first round went like this. It's a real draft, $25 entry fee. Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are the first 6 picks. No Bijan in the first 6 picks in this draft. Bijan went 7th, then Breece Hall. Marvin Harrison Jr. went 9th overall in this draft. I took A.J. Brown at 10. Puka Nacua went 11, and Garrett Wilson went 12. Every single player I have in my top 12 except for Jahmyr Gibbs. I have 2 11s. I have 13 players here. My top 13 that I have on TikTok right now, guys, come to the YouTube Live in a real draft right now. That was the first 13 players drafted in this draft. Almost exactly. I mean, actually pretty uncanny. Like this is something I wrote up well before this live stream. I am live on YouTube. Links in the TikTok bio if you don't believe me. And these were the first 13 picks in a real draft I'm doing right now on YouTube. YouTube Live, I got an order right now on the TikTok Live of how I think the first round of draft should go. I have it at CMC 1, CeeDee Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3. That's exactly how this draft went. Then I differ from how this draft went a little bit. I got Jefferson over Lamb. Sorry, I got Jefferson over Chase. Then I got Amon-Ra. That's how it went here. So I got Bijan over Jefferson and Chase. Bijan went 7th. Then Amon-Ra, then Breece, then Garrett Wilson. I have Garrett Wilson over A.J. Brown here, but I took Garrett Wilson in the previous draft, so I went A.J. Brown on this one. I have Puka over A.J. Brown too. But all 3 of those receivers, I think, are really close together for me. Garrett Wilson, Puka, and A.J. Brown. Still thinking through those 3 a little bit. Still early in draft season, guys. We got time to. One of the best things I think to my fantasy football analysis skill set is that I don't lock into takes. I'm very easy to. It's very, very easy to lock into takes as a fantasy football content creator. You see it all the time. I'm willing to change my mind. I'm willing to identify new information and react to that. Breece over Bijan. Yeah, I just can't get behind that. The receiving usage is so similar for Breece and Bijan, but the touchdown ceiling I just think is higher for Bijan than Breece. I have more confidence in the Falcons offense and the Jets offense. I have more confidence in Bijan being used like Christian McCaffrey than I do in Breece being used like Christian McCaffrey. I think I'm more of a chance that Braylon Allen actually eats away at some of the valuable touches in that Jets backfield than Tyler Algier eating away at those valuable touches. I mean, the Falcons coaching staff has already come out and said it. They've already come out and blatantly stated, yeah, we're going to use Bijan like Christian McCaffrey this season. And I think it would be wise for the Jets not to do that with Breece Hall from a real NFL perspective. Someone who's already dealt with some serious injuries. They went out and they drafted Braylon Allen. They actually drafted 2 running backs in this year's draft. I still love Breece. I still have him as a top 8 fantasy football pick. And he'll probably go top 5 in a lot of drafts. But yeah, I'm taking Bijan over him pretty easily right now. All right, we're going to be back on the clock. I went double elite tight end here. We are going to ignore tight ends the rest of the draft. I really need to be locked in at running backs and receivers. I have not taken a lot of Zamir White. This might be the time to do that. Jameson Williams is still there too. I can maybe get the Goff stack later. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to go Jameson Williams. I still can get in on the Jameson Williams hype. I know a lot of people, they're not going to have it. This is a best ball format too. I could definitely see some spike weeks from Jameson Williams this year. It's been all positive about Jameson Williams all offseason. I'm a little bit buying into just the fact that he's still only 23 years old. Jameson Williams is younger than a lot of the rookie receivers this season. Like Ricky Pearsall is older than Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams has been in the NFL for 2 years already. He had how many spike weeks last year? 1. He had 2 spike weeks. 1 came in week 6. 1 came in the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. He had 19.7 points in his last game of the season. But you look at his usage, and Jameson Williams did not have a game until the playoffs where he was on the field for over 70% of the snaps. Then he got to the NFL playoffs where it matters the most. And the Detroit Lions put Jameson Williams out there for over 60% of the snaps in all 3 of their NFL playoff games. I think we're going to see this across like the full season. And this Lions desperately need Jameson Williams to be this guy for their offense, the deep threat, vertical stretch guy where Amon-Ra St. Brown can eat really on all spots, in all spots in the offense, all route tree, the entire route tree, all routes. Jameson Williams needs to be that deep threat for this offense. He missed the first 4 games of last season. I think he picked up a hamstring injury, I think it was, right before last season. Didn't play more than 70% of the snaps until the NFL playoffs. I think we're going to see a full season of over 70% snap share for Jameson Williams, assuming he can stay healthy. And one of the higher scoring offenses in the NFL. I'm willing to buy into that in this best ball format, especially where I don't need to predict where the spike weeks are going to come here from Jameson Williams. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button too. Do appreciate that. Helps me way more than you realize. I'm telling you, way more than you realize. Like button, subscribe button helps a ton. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, hit that follow button and also come over to the YouTube Live. The YouTube Live, it is a better viewing experience. Both viewing experiences are solid, but I'm doing a live draft on YouTube right now. Link is in the TikTok bio. You can see that on the YouTube Live. I'm taking a pretty aggressive draft strategy here. We are through 8 rounds. I have 1 running back on my team, and it's James Cook. 0/hero RB build here. We're going to start having to tap running backs. And this guy also has one running back on his team, so he's about to take Tony Pollard, which would have been nice. Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard, the top 2 running backs on in the Walter Picks app rankings. I would love to snag both of them, and I might be able to. Pull it off. We'll see what happens with these picks. Both these guys have 3 running backs, though, so they might not need to take one here. I do like stacking these Titans running backs a lot. I'm talking about the Titans offense here in a second. Early round running backs, wide receiver later rounds to play. I don't hate that at all. This list above me maybe goes against that a little bit, but I don't hate that strategy at all this season in fantasy football. I think Bijan I have Bijan as 3rd overall pick here, a little bit different than those rankings I had. Did I have him at 3? I might have had him at 3, actually. Maybe I had him at 4. But yeah, I'm fine going early running back in a mid to late round receiver in redraft leagues this year. I'm definitely skewed a little bit more towards the best ball strategy right now because I've done like 200 best ball drafts. If you have never heard of best ball, it's the best fantasy football format possible for this time of year. All you do is the draft. There's no start set decisions. There's no trading. There's no adding, no dropping. All you do is the draft. Your best lineup submitted for you at the end of each week. Dustin, that's actually not the case. You would be surprised. I think, Dustin, I'm in 6. I think last year I capped it. Tyjae Spears gets snagged in this draft. I'm doing live on YouTube. Again, link to that's in the TikTok bio. Part of me wants to go Blake Corum, who's like perfect for the Hero 0 RB build. And part of me wants to go Javonte Williams, who's a much safer pick here. We're going to go Corum. This is a 670,000 person tournament, 670,000 entrants. Got to take some risks. And I would have taken Tyjae Spears stacked with Tony Pollard, but instead I go Tony Pollard and Blake Corum. I took Corum in the 10th round here. He's an injury away from winning leagues. I'm in 6 different high-stakes fantasy leagues. And last year I placed second in 2 of them. Got some tough draws in the finals last year. But no, I think I've placed in at least one of those 6 pretty much each of the last 5 years. But I really like to try to judge myself based on process, less so than results. And the results are going to show over time if your process is good. Just in general, in life, I think that is true. Stay away from Texans wide receivers. Yeah, the Texans wide receivers are going to be really tough, man, to manage in season-long leagues. There's going to be massive spike weeks from all three of the Texans wide receivers. Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. Tank Dell's probably my favorite. He's the one going latest in drafts. That's part of the reason he's my favorite to take. I think Nico Collins is probably the safest, but I think it's going to be just any given week, pick your poison of who's going to go off and who's going to absolutely bust in fantasy football. Probably going to be one of the more pass-heavy offenses in the NFL, but still, it's tough for all three guys to be consistent. It's going to be really tough. They're also all one injury away from being a lot more consistent, but there's actually like more depth than people realize too on this Texans passing offense. John Mechie, not a guy people talk a lot about, but John Mechie would have been an early, probably first or second round pick in the NFL had he not gone through what he went through when he entered the NFL. He beat cancer like right as he entered the NFL, and he's like just now fully recovered from that. Last year he played, but was the kind of his rookie season technically. He's like sort of technically in year two. There's been some positive reports out of camp from him. Like he actually could carve out some role in the offense. Noah Brown is still there. He had some moments last season. Xavier Hutchinson had a couple of moments last season. So they actually have like sneaky depth. Dalton Schultz obviously still there. So yeah, I think I'll probably be fading them at cost if they're going to be going where I've seen them go in the drafts I've done so far, which is round 2 and 3. Like all of them are gone by the third round. All of them. At least like that just doesn't make sense. From an average draft position perspective, there's no way all three of them can pay off that cost. Some of them probably will. Some of them will probably completely bust. We're seeing Judy go off the board. Gabe Davis have been taking some stabs at Judy. Definitely interested to see how he does on the Cleveland Browns. We're going to be back on the clock here. I probably will go. I might take Sharp again. I have 4 receivers at this point. Josh Downs. I got to think about the stack still. I could get this Goff stack. I probably should do this. Yeah, I'm going to take Goff here. And he's got the same bye week as Jalen Hurts. Of course, I never think about bye weeks when I'm drafting, and I'm probably just going to still stick with 2 QBs and just eat the 0 points in week 5. I can't take a third quarterback when I've invested this much draft capital into them already, and I need to take running backs. That's a pretty tough L, I think, for this draft. Part of me wants to take Ricky Pearsall here too, so I can get the Lions 49ers stack going. I also want to take Austin Eckler. I think I'm going to go Pearsall, though. Tough call. Eckler's the number 1 receiver. Pearsall is nowhere near the top of the receivers. I'm going to go Eckler. Justin Herbert is a top 5 QB. Here's how I think the top 12 picks should go in fantasy drafts. You're watching live on TikTok. What do you think about Te'Jay Spears? I absolutely love Te'Jay Spears. He's one of my favorite running backs to target in drafts right now. I'm doing a live draft on YouTube right now. Shout out to everyone in the YouTube live. We're an hour in to this live, my second draft of this live stream. Real draft, not a mock draft, real draft going on in the YouTube live at Walter Picks on YouTube. Links in the TikTok bio too if you're watching live on TikTok. Real draft going on YouTube. I took Tony Pollard over Te'Jay Spears in the 9th round. And then a few picks later in the 10th was going to take Te'Jay Spears to stack those two together. I think both guys are good picks. I think Tony Pollard is a slight edge probably in terms of usage, but I think it's going to be pretty evenly split. Te'Jay Spears was one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL last season. Let me pull this up. I think he was top 5 in yards per touch. He was number 6 player in the NFL in yards per touch. Sorry, not in the NFL, among running backs. 5.5 yards per touch for Te'Jay Spears last season. He also ranked number 7 in target share. He had a 15% target share last season. He's got 15% of the Titans' targets, and the Titans are going to pass way more this season. I think if you're pointing at 2 offenses, you're looking at 2 offenses that are going to make the most dramatic leap from last season to this season. It's the Atlanta Falcons going from Desmond Ridder, a bottom 30, outside the top 30 quarterback in the NFL, and Arthur Smith, one of the worst coaches possible for fantasy football purposes and for passing offenses, both gone out of Atlanta. Upgrade to Kirk Cousins from Desmond Ridder. upgrade to a more pass-heavy philosophy for the Falcons, that's going to be a big upgrade there. And then on the Tennessee Titans side, they're going away from the Derrick Henry coaching staff. No more Derrick Henry on the team. They add Tony Pollard. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They added Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd this offseason. They're going to go from one of the more run-heavy offenses in the league to one of the more pass-heavy offenses in the league. I think that's good for Tyjae Spears, who, again, was number 7 among all running backs in the NFL in target share last season. I want running backs that catch the ball, and Tyjae Spears definitely fits that bill. I want running backs that can be efficient in both the run game and the pass game. Tyjae Spears was the 6th most efficient running back in terms of yards per touch last season. There was only 5 running backs in the NFL that were more efficient on a per-touch basis than Tyjae Spears. Yeah, I think he's a great pick in the mid-rounds. I think he absolutely has league-winning upside if Tony Pollard goes down, but he's also going to give you pretty solid standalone value, especially in PPR leagues, points per reception leagues that they give you a point for each reception. So yeah, Tyjae Spears, I think he's actually been, I'll pull it up right after this in the YouTube live. You can come to the YouTube live. You're watching live on TikTok, guys. I'm telling you, better viewing experience in the YouTube live. I can pull up game logs on the screen. You can see a live draft as it's happening on the screen in the YouTube live. And I'll pull up my ownership projections, my roster percentages so far in the drafts I've done. All right, we're back on the clock here. I kind of feel like I got to go. The receivers are so bleak at this point of the draft. We're going to go Quentin Johnson first, and we'll take Adam Thielen or Wandale next. I don't think I got any Cowboys players. I don't feel great about that because I don't have any bringbacks here. The Lions play the 49ers in week 17. The Eagles play the Cowboys in week 17. I got none of those guys. I probably should take Jalen Tolbert late. There's like absolutely no 49ers players to take late, I guess, other than Elijah Mitchell. I'll queue him up to potentially take late too. And we're going to take Adam Thielen next, assuming he doesn't get snagged, and he doesn't. Took Adam Thielen and Chris Godwin in both these. I do like that stack pairing. Week 17 stack correlation there. Adam Thielen, I think, will still have a role with the Panthers and already has that connection with Bryce. And the Panthers are another offense that, like, they were so bad last season that, like, a leap forward doesn't even mean that much, but they're also going to take one of the bigger leaps forward this season because of how bad they were last year, because Dave Canales is in town as their offensive coordinator now. He was who elevated not Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield when he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he can do something similar with Bryce. I'm still not super bullish on Bryce Young, but they at least added some support on offense. They traded for Deontay Johnson. They drafted Jonathan Brooks. They drafted Xavier Legette. At least something more appealing, but I still think Adam Thielen will have a role. I don't hate him in around 14 of these drafts. Thoughts on DJ Moore and Keenan Allen? Yeah, I think the Bears have the best wide receiver room in the NFL. And I really don't think there's a super strong argument against that. I think the only argument against that is you don't believe in Rome Odunze. And I'm still trying to learn, is it Rome Odunze or is it Rome Odunze? I think it's Rome Odunze, but I've heard Rome Odunze. Someone please tell me. YouTube live. Someone tell me, is it Rome Odunze or is it Rome Odunze? I'm not sure. But I think Rome Odunze is very good. So I think they do have the best receiver room in the NFL. And Rome Odunze is the number 3 receiver in that offense. I don't think there's a better number 3 receiver than Rome Odunze. Like maybe Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe you think Jermaine Burton's good. You could argue the Bengals need 2 keepers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 2nd round. Rachaad White, running back, 6th round. Drake London. Yeah, take Amon-Ra. Just take Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a solid 1st round pick in fantasy football drafts this season. Having trouble ranking all wide receivers outside the top 10. I don't like any of them. Yeah, there's such a flat. There's a big flat group of receivers this year for sure. That's part of the reason I think it makes sense to aggressively chase these top guys in drafts this year. I do like Marquise Brown, his upside in the mid rounds right now. Yeah, really after Garrett Wilson goes off the board, like Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Brandon Ayuk, DK Metcalf, all these guys I feel like are in a similar tier are going to be back on the clock here. Elijah Mitchell's right there. I probably should take him. Complete that 49ers line stack. If you're watching live on TikTok right now, by the way, guys, we are live on YouTube as well. And I'm in a live draft right now. Actually, only 3 picks left in this draft. I'll let you know how the draft's going in a second once I make this next pick. I'm feeling okay about it, not great. Similar to the last draft. These drafts on stream, I feel like, are a little bit harder. But fun nonetheless, guys. This is the best time of the year. It's draft season. There's so much to dive into, so much to discuss. We're gonna be live. I'll be live every single week leading up to the season. I was live last week, live right now. I'll be live next week as well. Post July 4th break, and every single week, the stakes are gonna get higher and higher as we get closer to the season. I've been taking so much Braylon Allen late. I think his upside is really good with these late running back stacks. I don't hate how the running back room turned out. I don't feel great about these week 5 stacks together, and just the wide receivers left just fell off so fast. And we're going to wrap this up with 2 receivers with my last 2 picks. If you want to watch the YouTube live, by the way, go to the TikTok file. Links there in the TikTok file. Can you show us the first rounds? Yeah, I got you, Tristan. Yeah, I'm showing it right now. Yeah, so the first round of the draft was this draft started extremely, extremely common. Christian McCaffrey went first overall, then CeeDee Lamb again. If you're watching live on TikTok, I'm showing you a live. This is a real draft board that's going on right now in the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok file if you want to see that. Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, first 3 picks. Then Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is exactly how the current average draft position shakes out on Underdog. Again, this is a best ball format. Half PPR. You start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. In a best ball format, there are no start-sit decisions. There is no adding, no dropping, no trading. All you do is the draft. So roster construction is super important. This is also a tournament, which means there's a lot of different leagues I'm competing against. If I win this league, I play other people that won their leagues in week 15, and then so on and so forth until week 17. So I got to beat that pod in week 15, and then I got to beat all the people that won their league and then won the following league in their week 15 pods in week 16. And then I get to the final group in week 17 against 500 other teams that made it there out of 670,000. It's a massive tournament. Think about the big tournaments on DraftKings every week in the season. That's what this is on a season-long basis. That also plays into the strategy here. So it's a little bit different than you'll see in your season-long drafts for that reason. A lot of the analysis is similar, though. We saw Bijan, then Brees go. Usually there's only 3 running backs going in the first round in these drafts. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan, and Brees Hall. I absolutely love this middle. I think there's a decent drop-off after this Brees Hall pick. I got the 10th pick, so I had to lean into that a little bit. But I really like Bijan and Brees where they're going. I really like all guys in this top 8, especially Bijan and Justin Jefferson. I think those are my most overweight positions in those top 8. I'll show you guys my roster percentages on the YouTube Live in a sec. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok Live. Or look up Walter Picks on YouTube. Marvin Harrison went 9th overall. That's earlier than he usually goes, but he usually goes inside the top 14 picks, so not crazy. I went A.J. Brown at 10. I've been flip-flopping between A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson. I think any of those 3 guys are solid at the 10 spot in these drafts. Then Puka Nacua went Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Drake London. I followed up with Jalen Waddles alongside A.J. Brown to start a wide receiver. And then I went Sam Laporta, Jalen Hurts, James Cook. So I took my first running back in round 5. I did not take my next running back until round 9. I had 1 running back through the first 8 rounds. And I was able to get Tony Pollard, Blake Corum, and Austin Eckler in 3 of my next 4 picks. I stacked Jared Goff with Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta. I picked up another elite tight end in round 7 too, double elite tight end here with both Sam Laporta and Evan Ingram. I do like getting 2 of the top 12 tight ends in this format because I think there's a huge drop-off at tight end after Dallas Goedert. From Dallas Goedert to Pat Freiermuth to Dalton Schultz to TJ Hawkinson, who's not even going to play the first half of the season. Huge drop-off in my opinion. And these 2 receivers, you can't feel great about them. This is round 13 at this point too, but I do think there's still a path for Quentin Johnson to be relevant with Justin Herbert. I might take DJ Chark here with one of these picks, and Jalen Tolbert got picked. So I'm not going to be able to get a Dallas Cowboy in this team. I don't hate Tyler Boyd either. Khalif Raymond's interesting. I'm going to go DJ Chark first. I think I might take Khalif Raymond and stack him with Goff too. Khalif Raymond should be the wide receiver 3 for the Lions this season. Let's actually pull this up here. Yeah, wide receiver 3. This is the new player profile if you're watching live on YouTube, by the way, in the Walter Picks app. So much new in the Walter Picks app. Make sure you guys update your app. It's going to be like by far the best version of the app we've ever seen this season. It's going to be like the best tool possible to help you dominate fantasy football drafts this year. And yeah, we'll wrap up with Khalif Raymond. Excuse me. We got a lot of week 5 buys we're going to have to work through with this team. I'm going to have 0 quarterbacks playing for me in week 5, which is going to be probably pretty brutal. But I think this team has at least a path to making up for it with how good the rest of the squad can be here. All right, I'll show you guys my exposures here quick before we wrap up. And yeah, so actually Cooper Kupp is my most drafted player so far. I've done 243 total teams. I think there's some drafts from before the draft that maybe we're counting here. That's actually more than I realized. 243 best ball drafts. I'm out of control, guys. It's July 2nd. T.J. Spears and Cooper Kupp are my 2 most drafted players so far. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to YouTube. You can see this on screen right now on YouTube. Then Jake Ferguson. Then a bunch of high upside running backs, Antonio Gibson. I've taken a lot of Trey Benson. I can't stop drafting Devon Achane. Christian Kirk is my next highest wide receiver. So if we go position by position here, you can see Deshaun Watson just feels like he's got the highest ceiling of the late round QBs. Every single time I draft Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp's my most drafted receiver, so I've been drafting him a lot. He's on a 4th of my teams that I've drafted so far through a lot of drafts. And almost every single time I'm going to try to stack him with Matthew Stafford. Or I'm going to have Kyler Murray, who plays the Rams in week 17 on those teams. So that's 2 of the reasons you see these guys high up. I've been leaning more towards the elite tight ends of late. I got a decent amount of Mahomes now, 13%. He's my 4th highest drafted quarterback. I expect him to have a really, really good chance to be the number 1 overall quarterback in fantasy. When it comes to running back, I only have 5 guys that have taken over 20% of drafts. Blake Corum, Devon Achane, Trey Benson, Antonio Gibson, and T.J. Spears. All pass-catching running backs. All at least, if not already, just straight path to being a league winner. They are in injury away from being a league winner. Similar thing with Braylon Allen here too, I think. Here's the receiver room of my highest percentage drafts. Remember to think about cost in association with this as you're looking through some of this. Jake Ferguson, David Njoku, Kyle Pitts. Love those as my top 3 drafted tight ends so far. This will definitely change a lot as we get closer to the season as well. Guys, that's my time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Who's controlling the Walter Picks TikTok account? I am controlling the Walter Picks TikTok account. We are posting across our whole team consistently on that Walter Picks TikTok account. You'll see my content on there, of course, as well. But we got daily TikToks coming from across the team on the Walter Picks TikTok account. Time is the most valuable thing we have, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'll be back live next week. Good luck, everybody, in any early best ball drafts, and talk to you all very soon.